transition to Shadow and Bone, and speaking of bully romancers, let's talk about how Darklina shippers need help. Next up on Dr. Phil. Whew, are we ready? That was a wild start. Hello. Hi, everybody. We're gonna jump into it. I have not looked at your reviews yet, so we'll get into that as well. But we don't need to stay where we've been so far with the stream. Moving on. Is it possible to just get out of the vibe that we were all just in? Quick, everybody tell me something good that happened this week so we can move out of this headspace. You guys want to talk about a book? Thank you for the follow, T-Pack. Okay. All right. We're ready, okay? It's been a minute. You know, we've been on for 20 minutes or so. 30 minutes or so. It's been a while. We've been here for a minute. Anyway, it's book club day. So we're going to talk about Shadow and Bone, which was our April book. And I put the dust jacket on upside down. I was like, why are all my notes written upside down? Now we're ready. I tabbed for the first time. I've never tabbed before. And I'll tell you my secret, okay? Because it's very colorful. There's a lot happening here. The secret is, I don't know how to fucking find anything in this. I could not tell you what one of these means. Like, they have stuff written on them, so if I actually open to it, I can see, like, oh, this one is when Baghra tells Alina to escape. Okay, but I can't find anything in this. They don't mean anything. I just switched colors every chapter because I thought that would help me, like, keep track of things. Spoiler alert, it fucking didn't. I don't know how to find anything. So, great. This was for the podcast for Grisha Watch because I wanted to be able to find things, because when I did it for His Dark Materials, I just noted things in my phone with a page number, and then I realized we're like in the middle of recording, I would find something, I'd like go to open it up and realize I couldn't find where on the page it was, and I was like, this will be easier. Were they even color coordinated? No, they were not. Because I tried to keep it, it was supposed to be green, what was the order? Green, blue, orange, pink, yellow. And then it was just supposed to follow that order. Green, blue, orange, pink, yellow. But then that order got mixed up too. And so like every time I would switch chapters, I would switch colors. And then I don't know what I thought that was gonna do. I really don't know what I thought this was gonna help me with, because it didn't. It really didn't. I don't know. Hey, look, it's where Genya. God damn it. I'm starting to say Genya. No, her name is Genya. I refuse. Anyway, what was I even talking about? I've forgotten what's happening. I read this for the first time in October. I read it again this time. Okay, so this is my first time rereading it since having finished the Grishaverse books, and I'm not going to say anything about anything after Shadow and Bone, because I know there are people in here who have only read Shadow and Bone. So don't worry, this stream is not going to be spoilery for anything after Shadow and Bone. To the best of my ability, we're just going to talk about this book. I enjoyed it. It's not bad. It's not like the best thing in the world, but I think it's a really good, especially going back, I think it's a really good foundation for a really cool universe that she built across 7 different books, which is very cool. 7 books and 3 different story arcs. Very exciting. So I think it serves really well as a great foundation. It's definitely the... Hi, puppy. Why are all of my animals just... It's your very kind of basic chosen one trope, which is fun. Like, it's not my favorite trope. Like, obviously, like, I loved Harry Potter, so that's kind of ingrained in my brain. It's not my favorite trope in the world. It's not my least favorite trope in the world. And I think it's a good example of the chosen one trope. Wouldn't most stories be a chosen one trope or the hero's journey? The hero's journey, yes, but not necessarily the chosen one trope. Like, the chosen one trope is, like, when you have somebody like Alina Starkov, who is the only one of her kind. You know, they've been waiting for her for centuries, and, you know, they've never seen something like her before. Now that she's here, she's the only one that can fix this. Like, that's your chosen one trope. Rating and content. What did the show leave out? Okay, so here's what kills me about the show. Because the show leaves out, like, 6 months worth of time that she spends at the Little Palace. So all of her training, the show just wipes it out. She gets... I won't even say she gets 1 lesson with Botkin. She gets nothing. Botkin doesn't even get a name. She gets no combat training. She sees Baghra really with only any kind of, like, actual lesson 1 time. And at the end of all of that, she, like, saves the day. And how she doesn't know anything, she didn't learn anything. So you're kind of, and especially as you get into, you know, anything after the book, like it's all going to come back to the fact that she never had any training, and now she just knows things, and she's just good at things, and she never had to practice, and it never mattered. Like, it was in her all along, and it's just this power inside. But, like, she actually had to work really, really hard to get there. The book doesn't gloss over Botkin too much. Like, he's not a huge part of it, but it does talk a lot about how much she struggles with the physical side of it. So she struggles a lot before she unlocks her powers because she's been forcing them down so much. And then when she has, you know, when she gets her powers and she can finally unlock that part of herself, and she's not, like, spending so much of her energy on putting it down, she realizes she has all this physicality that she never had before. And that's why that scene when she and Maul run into the guys that try to mug them in Rivost is so cute and, like, but honestly important, because she, you know, breaks his nose and she fights him off, and she's so excited. She's like, I did it! Like, she has this, like, really cute moment where she's like, oh yeah, I did it! But she, like beat the shit out of some dude. Because she's never been able to do that before. Like how Katniss was supposed to be undernourished and everything. Yikes. They're just not gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. They want somebody who looks, like, pretty and perfect on screen, which, whatever. But I think kind of that's what sets part of the book apart. Not necessarily from other books, but, like, just from the show, is she actually has to work really hard. Like, yeah, she's the chosen one, but she has to work at it. And, like, there's something to be said for that. I like the emotional journey she goes on. I love the Darkling as a character. He is fascinating. I love him. And, like, he's great. He's phenomenal as a villain. Love that. When they cast Ben Barnes as him, obsessed. I love him as a villain. I think he's really, really, really good in this. And, like, maybe calling him the Darkling kind of, like, lets people in on the fact that he's probably a bad guy, like, real early, but I don't even care. He is easily the best character in this book. He's the most interesting character. He's the best character. Alina is a very, like, she's a pretty standard character. She's a pretty standard chosen one hero. You know, he is really what makes or breaks this book. I think he is absolutely the best part of it. He fucking carries this book. He carries this book so hard. You liked Genya, Beth? Genya in the book, Genya in the show is great, but I feel like she doesn't get enough screen time for you to love her quite so much. I love Genya, and, like, she only gets better. Like, I love her. And she also is another character that I feel like has a lot more complexity than Alina, because she's led, I won't say she's led a more complex life than Alina, because they're very, very different. It's a very apples to oranges thing. But, like, this idea of her having been a gift for the queen, and, like, this life that she's lived because of it, and then her motivations at the end when, I think, you know, she knows what she's doing is wrong, but, like, she's put in her dues. Like, she's done her time. Like, it's time for her to get something out of it. And, like, the way that you can sympathize with her, like, she is also great. I think I love all of the characters around Alina a lot more than I love Alina. At least at this point in Shadow and Bone. Didn't like Maul in the show or the book. See, okay, here's the thing with the online fan base. Nobody fucking likes Maul. I swear to God. People hate Maul. And, like, I get it. I do. I don't hate him. I truly don't. Like, I like Maul as a person. I like him. I don't know that I like him as a character. I think I like him as a person. But as a character, I can say when people don't like him. But, like, book people do not like Maul. So the show absolutely changed him because they wanted you to like him. They were like, we need you to like this guy. And we need you to like him earlier than you would in the book. Because Maul in the book is the most oblivious, aloof, like, whatever. And in the show, they turn him into, like, I've been in love with her my whole life. I'm gonna fight battles for her. I'm gonna do whatever. And I was like, who is he? Who is he? Because I don't remember him in here. I guess, okay, I can actually look now. So I said in the podcast, I was saying, like, he's never written a letter to this girl ever. And somebody said that he has, and there it is. Okay, that's fair. Somebody said that he actually did write a letter, and it's in the collector's edition. So this came out last year, like 8 years after the original book came out. So I don't count this. It's nice, it's a nice edition, but in my mind, he never wrote her a letter. But I guess there's a letter that he wrote her in the collector's edition. Wanted to see more of Genya's relationship to, book 2 Maul. Look, don't get me started. Okay. We're not going to get into any spoilers for book 2 because I know a lot of people in here haven't read it. But I will say straight up, book 2 is my least favorite in the series. I am very curious to see how it holds up on a reread now that I have the context for what happens afterward and like the rest of the series. But book 2 was my least favorite. It gave me so hard second book syndrome. Would you say the series is better than the sum of its parts? Yes. Yeah, that's fair. With the well, I think possibly the Shadow and Bone trilogy, the building blocks, are potentially the weakest link. Because I think Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom are fucking perfection. Those books are both 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, absolute, just blissfully amazing. I love them so much. And I will say that I read them first. Because I was halfway through Six of Crows before I even knew this existed. I didn't know that they were connected to other books. So I did read them first, and I'm like, that may color part of my feelings on Shadow and Bone, because I read what is arguably a better story and a better version of her writing and a better version of all of that before I went back to the original. So, I don't know. But I don't think they're bad. They're just not my favorite. I think Six of Crows is easily the highlight of the whole thing. After watching the show, I feel like I'd like Six of Crows way more. I think that's totally fair. I think the characters are a lot more complex. They're way more interesting. The story is better. And that's not like to shit on Shadow and Bone. I don't necessarily think these are bad. I just think Six of Crows, like you said, is on an entirely other level. They're so good. And then King of Scars I really, really liked. And Rule of Wolves, I'm not sure where I stand on yet. It just came out last month. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's the ending that took it for me down from a 5. Like, I enjoyed it while I was reading, but I have a lot of problems with it. But again, King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, I won't say literally anything about because I don't want to get into what they're about. I don't want to get into, like, plot stuff. So I'm not even going to say nothing about those. Just that they exist. They exist. They're in the universe. You don't need to know anything about them. And have we talked about the actual book yet? Look, I got sidetracked, okay? We started talking about the show, and then I went in a different direction. This is gonna be like book review / show review. I don't know. Don't come for me. Don't come for me on this. Anyway, Shadow and Bone. A YA fantasy with the Chosen One trope that I actually did enjoy as a I think I gave this 4 out of 5 because I rate books as to my enjoyment that I got out of them. It's not necessarily, is it the best thing, you know, is it the best writing, is it the best story, is it the best plot? Like, it's about how much I personally enjoyed it, which I think is how a lot of people rate things. It's very subjective. The 5-star system is super subjective. So I think I gave this a 4 because I really did enjoy the time that I spent in this book. Like, it was a fun time, and it was a good introduction to these characters, and it's a good building block for what becomes a really cool universe overall. So yeah. I mean, if you want to see a review, do you want to see your guys' reviews? Because we'll do that. I got them pulled up. We're going to do it. This is Emma, of course we're sidetracked. Wow. Am I good? I'm good. Here's what you guys thought. So we've talked a little about what I thought. We've talked about what I thought about the show. Apparently that's the direction we went in. Here's what you guys thought. Okay, so I always ask just the format because I'm curious what we all do, but only half of us had a physical book. Look at that. Look at that. 50% physical books, a couple ebooks, and a few audiobooks. Okay, one person DNF'd it. Well, one person who reviewed it DNF'd it. Alright, who DNF'd it? How far did you get before you DNF'd? Somebody DNF'd it less than a quarter, or about a quarter of the way through. I'm curious who that was. Housing bullshit. Okay, fair enough. What do we rate this? Okay, so we had 40% 4 stars, okay. 40% 3 stars, and a couple 5 stars. We had a couple people who really liked it. Would you reread this book? 2 of us said no. Alright. Bunch of you said yes. See, I feel like once you read the entire series, that changes, because then your perception of the beginning, or of like what becomes the building blocks, changes. So, which is why I was excited to do a reread. Alright. What do we got here? Wow, story, somebody gave it a 2-star. A couple 5 stars, couple 4 stars, mostly okay. So about a 3 star on the story. That's not unfair. I don't think that's unfair. The characters carried it for the most part. 3 and 4 and 5 stars for most of that. Couple 3 stars. So we really loved the characters. The story was okay. Writing style we liked. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we're kind of still in that. All right. So it really isn't like the writing is good, the characters are good, but the plot super isn't there. And that's, I think, a really fair way to look at this book. I think it's fun. It's not the greatest thing. It's not groundbreaking. It's a pretty classic YA fantasy chosen one thing. I think that's all very fair. Okay, let's get specific. I'd give the writing a 3.5, but I always round up. That's fair. Okay. Really enjoyed the book. The storyline's predictable. That doesn't mean it's a bad book, as it has characters in a world you want to know more about. I liked the way they handled powers, how they were under sciences and had to have catalysts to make some of the powers work a certain way. I would like more details on the history of the land and the conflicts between the kingdoms. You should keep reading the series then. That might be something that you enjoy. It would help me to better understand why there's so much tension and conflict to the point that the Darkling felt the need to spread the unsee onto kingdoms. Book is written to leave you craving for more and needing to find out what happens with it all. All very good. I don't like Alina. She seems like a typical teenage girl who thinks she's not like other girls and also hates herself and also hates every other girl for being prettier than her. I didn't quite get that feeling from her, because I will tell you straight up, I do not like the whole, like, not like other girls. I don't like that shit at all. But I don't really get that from Alina. Like, that doesn't, I don't read her that way. I think she... There's definitely a bit of the insecurity in there. There's a bit of the, like, everybody else is prettier than her, because apparently she looks sick all the time. So that's gotta weigh on you. And the fact that she's, like, in love with this guy who is apparently so hot, like everybody in the world, like every other girl tries to flirt with it. Well, I don't know. It was a whole thing. So, like, I can see that side of it, but I don't really get the whole, like, not like other girls vibe from her. I see the other stuff, though. Best parts were her friendship with Genya. I'm a Sailor Moon fan. I like stories about girls being friends and trying on pretty dresses. What can I say? It's fair. I was really hoping Bagheera was going to turn out to be Baba Yaga or something, immortal, mysterious, as likely to eat you as help you. Disappointed that she's just the Darkling's mother. How dare you? And the Darkling is just straight up, uncomplicated bad guy. I was hoping for something more interesting. The ending does make me want to read more. I'd like to see where the story goes. I read it for the first time a few months ago, and I really didn't like it. Having read all the other Grishaverse books now, I appreciate it a lot more. Definitely a really quick read. I never got super invested. I almost said investigated and invested at the same time. Never got super invested in the story or the characters other than Genya. I like that we all collectively can, like, agree that Genya's amazing. Like, we all protect Genya. We love Genya. Hands down the best character. The world building's fun and absorbing. The writing style is nice and it lays the groundwork for the other books, which are much better. Not a bad book, but Leigh Bardugo definitely got better with her other Grishaverse novels. Was Shadow and Bone her first book as well? Like, her first published book, I think? We can all recognize how great she is. The Darkling can go throw his creepy, rapey, manipulative ass into a wood chipper and fuck off forever. I see we've gotten to Jenny's review. Nice to see you. I started the book wanting to be punished by him, but very quickly that changed when he started just being an average guy, thinking he's the greatest thing to ever happen to existence and he deserves everything. When in reality, he's just an all-around shitbag that should have been the poster child for aborting children well into their 20s. This is not Jenny's review. This is not. Oh, it's still yours. Oh, I thought there was a break there. Fair enough. But I wish it was. Look. The Darkling is not a good guy, but I think he's a good character. Overall, the book is great. Even the shitty characters are written well, and I could easily see as a real person, which really helps immerse you into the world and believe it's real. This is where the Darklina drinking game kicks into overdrive. Look, at the end of all this, we'll talk about Darklina. We'll talk about it. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit. Where's Inej? Is this Steven's? Steven, I feel like this is you. I should preface everything with the disclaimer that I finished watching the show before I finished reading the book. I thought Shadow and Bone was fine. I don't mean this sarcastically. I like that you put that, like, I think it's fine. Literally. I'm not joking. I think it's fine. An entertaining read, but to me it felt like a generic YA novel. That's fine. There's a messiah-like protagonist, a school training.
You're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Really? Why do I always know which one is yours? Because I see you in the, like, you know when you just, like, hear somebody's voice in the, I can hear you with this. and because I read your Discord comments, and you usually say similar things. Also, I'm a genius, so that's the most important part. Messiah-like protagonist, a school training arc, casts a love triangle. I'm not saying they're bad, it's just that there wasn't anything new or different in Shadow and Bone that made me stop and think. Best part of the book were Bardugo's writing and the world building. The Grishaverse has the potential to tell a super interesting story about class and war and politics. It's a shame Shadow and Bone was tied to the first-person point of view of Alina. So I feel like we all kind of felt very similarly that, like, it's an okay book, it makes you want more, and the weakest part of it is a generic plot. That feels good. Because, like, you still love the characters are really what carry it, the world building is really interesting and makes you want more of it, and I'll tell you, I mean, it's a 7-book series, so it continues to build and grow. So, you know. Any quotes that stood out? Nope. Wow. Oh, yeah. Again, we love Genya. We fucking love... This is a Genya appreciation stream. This is a... Excuse... What? No. No, absolutely not. That's a classic. That is... okay, here's the thing. The Darkling has some fine-ass quotes that they cut out of the show, and I'm like, people are gonna be upset. And honestly, I'm a little upset, because there are quotes that I would love to have heard in Ben Barnes' voice that we didn't get, and oh my god, the fact that we didn't get it. But yeah, the "Make Me Your Villain" quote is a fucking iconic classic Darkling. What's the last quote, because it's blocked by everything on screen? It says, "Fine, make me your villain." You just can't... There it is. There it is! The classic. You can't go wrong with that one. But, like, the one that they cut out... Okay, the one that they cut out that killed me, because I would have loved to have just seen the dynamic between the three of them, is when, so, like, Alina and the Darkling have their, like, make-out session. And it wouldn't make sense in the context of the show, because in the show, they were, like, in a well-lit room. And in the book, it's this, like, dark, off-the-side hallway that are, like, in a corner, like, just making out. So it's that line when Maul, you know, he finds her and Maul in the forest, and he's like, "Did you tell the boy?" Basically, like, "Did you tell him what I showed you in the dark? Like, did you tell him, you know, what we did?" And, like, just the way I was like, I can't wait for Ben Bar, like, this dynamic between the three of them, I really want to see, and I want to hear him say that. And then they just took it out. They took out that line, and it's like, why did you take out all the hot Darkling lines? Why did you take all of them away from us? Why? And that's where we get into the idea, the downside. The downside of casting Ben Barnes as the Darkling. And this was a simultaneous thought. So I had two thoughts simultaneously. I was like, oh my god, incredible, amazing, love it. And my second thought was, this is gonna make the Darklina stands so much worse. The fact that after this book, people were like, yes, he is the perfect love interest for her. No, if you ship Darklina, you need help. Like, flat out, you need help. Like, the idea, because here's the distinction that I draw, is that if you think the Darkling is, like, a hot character, and, like, you want that man for yourself, like, I get it. You know what? I get it. Get yours. I understand. Trust me, I understand. But to want him with the main character, who is a literal child... She's 16. Is she 17 or 16? Either way, she's a child that he, like, aggressively wants to control and own and manipulate and, like, excuse me, no. In what world? In what universe? Absolutely not. So, Darklina is not a thing that should be a thing. And, like, I get that people don't like Maul. I get that Maul is boring. I get that Maul is, like, not a super exciting bad boy. Whatever. Sometimes you just want a nice man. Sometimes it's okay just to have a nice person who loves you. That's okay. We can want that for people. I want that for her. Which is why I kind of like that he's boring. Boring is what she needs. Her life does not need any more excitement at this point. Like, boring is exactly what Alina needs. She does not need some crazy, exciting bad boy who's gonna destroy the world. No, just let her have her childhood friend, okay? My god. Is there Dark Maul fan fiction out there? I have never in my life thought about that. I guarantee you there is. I absolutely guarantee you there is. I'm not looking for it. I'm not doing it. Boring isn't even the word I'd use. He's just a normie. And that's fair, too. And, like, we've only seen, you know, Shadow and Bone Maul. So he's, like, at this point, he's just, like, a dude. He's just a dude. He's just a normal dude who grew up poor and orphaned and had one friend in his whole life. And then he wanted to see something bigger and see something different. So he joined the army. Because that's what you do. And, like, he's just living his life. And then suddenly, all this shit happens. And he has to, like, try to deal with that. So, like, I get it. Like, he's a fine character. He's a fine person. I like him. He's a good person. Just let them be happy. Can we let that happen? But no. We want to ship her with the abuser. It's toxic. And I think that's probably what happens is that the idea of, like, people who like him for themselves, and then they kind of, like, put that together because that's what they would want. I don't know. But, like, she's literally a child. My God. The man is, like, 400 some odd years old and wants to control and own her. Let's not. So, yeah. I think that's our Shadow and Bone. I think that was a good April. I feel like we kind of settled on not bad. I feel like our overall feeling is not bad. So that was April. We're going into May now with Gideon the Ninth. That's very exciting. I can't get past how the Darkling let Genya be used by the king. I see, that's kind of one of the things I wish the show had gone more into, and I hope they do in the future, and I hope we explore that more in the future in the show. There's just so much. And I have a lot of feelings about the Darkling that I can't talk about because there's spoilers for other things. I have a lot of feelings about him as a character, but we can't talk about it. So, that's where we're at. Siege and Storm will be on our book club choices from here on out because it is a sequel to one we've already done. How can I join your book club? And also, do you do Zoom meetings for book club discussions? So we don't. We just host everything. We keep our discussions all on Discord. And then at the end of every month, for every month, we have like a little review survey thing that comes out, and so we all fill that out, and then at the end of the month, I'm still recording this, by the way. I was like streaming and recording so I could put it up on YouTube, but I don't even